Try to remember a phone number you use often today. Now try to remember a number you had memorized 10 years ago. Not so easy, is it? Forgetting is easy today because we no longer need to remember. But throughout history, it was not always this way. There was a time when memory meant survival. This video is not about paper itself. It is about the moment when humans stopped carrying knowledge inside their minds and began storing it outside themselves. This is the story of how paper changed human memory. Paper feels so ordinary today that we forget it was once a revolution. But without paper, there would be no books, no schools, and no history as we know it. Paper is not just a surface for writing. It is the moment human memory moved outside the mind. Before paper, knowledge was not light. It was heavy, heavy like stone and heavy like memory. To write a single idea, people first had to find a surface. In the ancient world, knowledge was carved into stone, pressed into clay, etched onto wood, or written on animal skin. This was not a simple process. It took time, it required labor, and there was no room for mistakes. In Mesopotamia, laws and records were written on clay tablets. Creating a single tablet could take hours or even days. Once dried and hardened, it could not be easily changed. Knowledge was written, but it could not travel. A library weighed hundreds of kilograms. Ideas stayed where they were born. In ancient Egypt, papyrus was used. It was lighter than stone, but extremely expensive. Papyrus belonged to the state, to priests, to officials. For ordinary people, knowledge remained out of reach. When an idea became written, it became power, and that power was held by very few. Elsewhere, people wrote on wooden tablets, metal sheets, and animal skins. Writing on skin required the death of an animal. This made knowledge even more precious. Every word had to be chosen carefully, because materials were limited and costly. But the heaviest burden of knowledge was not physical. It lived in the human mind. Before paper, forgetting was not an option. Laws were not written, they were spoken. History did not live in books, it lived in people. Poems, legends, ancestral memory were passed down by memorization. When a person died, sometimes an entire history died with them. In this world, memory was power. Those who remembered more were respected more. Elders, poets, priests were living libraries. When they spoke, society remembered. When they forgot, society forgot. Before paper, knowledge moved slowly. An idea might be born in one city, but reach another years later, if ever. Because knowledge was heavy like stone, fragile like papyrus, and mortal like memory. That is why the invention of paper was not just a new material. It was the release of knowledge from its weight. But that is another story. Paper was not invented like a weapon. It was born quietly. It ended no wars. It destroyed no empires. Yet it changed the world from its foundations. 2nd century BCE, ancient China. There were palaces, there were laws, but knowledge was still heavy. People wrote on bamboo strips, heavy, awkward, impossible to carry easily. A single book could bend a man's back, and then a simple but revolutionary idea appeared. A court official named Kai Lun asked a dangerous question. Why must knowledge be so heavy? He crushed tree bark, mixed cloth scraps with water, added fibers of hemp, and then something new appeared, thin, light, flexible, paper. This was not just a new material, it was the first moment knowledge could breathe freely. No more carving stone, no more carrying memory only inside the mind. Knowledge became light enough to be held in the hand. At first, paper belonged to the court, then to scholars, then to poets, and finally to the people. Paper quietly declared, "Knowledge belongs to everyone," and the world was never the same again. Paper spread quickly throughout China. Government documents, tax records, literature, science. For a long time, China kept the secret of paper closely guarded. But like knowledge itself, paper refused to stay confined. It crossed borders, it escaped control, and it began its journey across the world. Paper production was under state control. Craftsmen were kept hidden. The technique was never shared, because paper was not just a material, it was an advantage. Where there was paper, there were records, there were laws, there was science. But in history, no secret remains secret forever. 8th century, a battle was fought between China and the Islamic world, the Battle of Talas. This battle was not only about land, it was about knowledge. According to historical accounts, Chinese papermakers were taken captive, and for the first time, the secret of paper left China. Paper first found its true value in the Islamic world: Samarkand, Baghdad, Damascus. In these cities, paper workshops were established. Paper was cheaper than papyrus, easier than parchment, and most importantly, it was fast. In the Islamic world, science flourished. Mathematics, medicine, astronomy, philosophy. Paper created libraries. Madrasas expanded. Knowledge was no longer only memorized. It was written, copied, preserved. Europe at first looked at paper with suspicion. "This material is too weak," they said. "Parchment is stronger." But over time, reality prevailed. In the 13th century, the first European paper mills appeared in Spain and Italy. Paper crossed the walls of the church. It left royal courts behind. And then the printing press arrived. Gutenberg's printing press was nothing without paper, but together with paper, the world exploded. Books became cheaper, reading spread, enlightenment began. For the first time, knowledge left the hands of the elite and reached the people. This was the Reformation. This was the Renaissance. This was the beginning of the modern world. Paper did not kill like a sword, but with ideas, it brought down empires. Paper recognized no borders. It crossed languages, it crossed religions, it crossed continents. And everywhere it went, it changed one thing above all: the way humans think. Paper did not make humans stronger. It made them different. Before paper, humans had to remember everything: laws, stories, knowledge. Forgetting was dangerous. After paper, humans no longer needed to carry the entire world inside their minds. Memory moved from the brain to the page, and this freed the human mind. Instead of memorizing, people began to think. They compared, they questioned, they created. Science advanced, laws became systems, history was preserved. But there was a cost. Humans remembered less, yet understood more. Instead of memorizing the world, they began to shape it. Paper did not weaken humanity. It changed what it meant to be human. Paper was a silent invention. It never raised a sword. It never marched armies. Yet it changed the way humans think. It lightened memory, freed the mind, and gave ideas a way to survive. Because of paper, knowledge was not lost. It passed from one generation to the next. Humans became not just beings who remember, but beings who think. Today, we may have moved from paper to screens. But remember this: every idea we write, every sentence we read, every piece of knowledge we share is part of that silent revolution. Paper taught us one simple truth: time may pass, Empires may fall, but written ideas continue to shape the world.